parting the wild horse's mane. So when we part the wild horse's mane, we have to ward off. We can't just give in and say, here's your snack, and then grasp the bird's tail, which is grabbing your opponent, right? So you shouldn't conjure up parting of the wild horse's mane and mix it for grasping of the bird's tail. Once you hear grasping of the bird's tail, you know that there are two sub-movements. The first one is to ward off your opponent, push him out, and then grab him down as if to grasp the bird's tail and then yet push him away, okay? So think of that first. So grasping of the bird's tail, whenever you hear it, you say, oh, two movements. Oh, opponent is in front of me. And then that's how we then follow through in creating a good grasping of the bird's tail and warding off, okay? So here we go. So this time now, we said that this movement starts to the right and then to the left, whereas the other movements always started to the left and ended on the right. So we're gonna take it apart, and since we're starting with our right, moving to the right. Right foot ready to go, right hand on the bottom, left hand on the top, holding your ball. We're going to grasp the bird's tail, but remember to ward off first. T stance, L stance, bottom hand advances to ward off your opponent using your forearm. Turn your hips and waist, reposition your hands to bring down the bird's tail. Turn at the hips and waist to look back. Contact, turn again and push through the middle of your body. Separate your hands and roll back and sit down. Spiral up and lunge forward. Sit back, sit down, twist step. T stance. What are we going to do? Take an L stance, but use our forearm to ward off. Turn our hips and waist. Hands move because our hips and waist are moving it. Contact. Turn again at the hips and waist. Push the energy through. Separate. Roll back. The hands are not helping you, but connected. Here's the drill. Twist step. Root down. T stance. Ward off. Turn hips and waist. Turn hips and waist again to look back. Contact, turn again, push out. Energy always going from your substantial foot all through your system to the tips of your fingers. Sit back, twist step, T stance, L stance, ward off. Turn hips and waist. Contact, turn again. Sit down. Then up, then forward. Twist. T. L. Ward off. Turn. Sit down, sit back. Contact. Turn, push. Separate, roll back, sit down. And then rest that, hold your ball, okay? Okay, so this is what you did. more time with me. Make it better. T stance. L stance. Ward off. Grasp the bird's tail. Twist. T. Ward off. Turn hips and waist. Contact turn. Push. Very good. Okay, let's do a brush knee. How? One more. Set. Hold your ball. We're going to part the wild horse's mane. One more set. This time we're going to grasp the bird's tail. Side. Okay, listen carefully, because after this, we're going to close. Okay, and I'll help you to close. Okay, so you push the guy away, you lunge forward. From here, you're going to sit back, sit down. Pivot with that insubstantial left foot. We want to use our right heel to pivot out. Our hands go for the ride. They're attached. We want to bring our feet closer together to close. We're going to have to take an intermediate or transition step to pivot on our right heel to come in. We're going to embrace the tiger by putting our right hand inside the cross in the middle of our body. We're going to shift our weight from our right to down to close it as we turn on our wrists so that both palms are now facing us almost to chest level. Bring it up to chest level. Bring the tiger closer to you by bringing it your cross hands closer to you. Then push away using the power of the contact of the wrists. Drop the elbows, flex the knees. Gravity takes you back home. Root it down on the right to actually balance off and close your forearm. Okay, so you can't always see me, so this is what we did. Don't copy me now, just watch. So we did the last grasping of the bird's tail where we pushed out our opponent. We twist, we open, twist, we in, twist, we embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside, we shift our weight over, we rotate our hands. At chest level, we bring the tiger closer, push him away. And what? Flex your knees, tuck the elbows, drop the shoulders, wrap around, heel up, off the ground, toe, heel. Okay, let's practice that one. Left foot forward, push him out. Lunge forward, okay? Sit back, sit down, pivot, open pivot, in pivot, embrace the tiger, right hand on the inside. Make sure you're sturdy on your left so that you can shift that right over. Then start to rotate so that your palms are now facing you about chest level. Push the tiger closer. Then use that force on the wrist to then push it out. Then drop shoulders, flex knees. Let gravity take you all back home. Okay? So practice that one. I want to go into cloud hands, okay? Because what we did was we did all the movements in a T-step, T-stance, L-stance, bow stance. But now we're going to take a linear movement, but only crab walking it. Crab walking it's on a sideways motion as if we're playing the piano. So refreshing your memory. Cloud hands is like playing the piano where our feet are parallel to each other. We use the toes to lead the motion. Once this is grounded, the other foot can come up. Leading with the toe means that the toe will then start to initiate the movement of lifting off the ground. Starts, the toes start to then move it, okay? So it's not tricky, but it's sort of taken for granted or logical that if you move any foot, the other foot should be weighted. And here shows the exact premise of which we don't want to fall, or we are stable. When our right foot is stable, we can move the insubstantial foot. When the insubstantial left foot is stable, we can now advance the insubstantial foot, or the weightless foot. Okay, so practice that with me. So 2 weighted feet right now, okay? We want to go left, so we should root down on our right. We feel the energy leaving the left, therefore we can advance. And we said that the feet are parallel. We're rooting down on the left to allow the right to come up and close. Rooting down on the right, allowing the left to come up and off the ground. All this opposite work, okay? But you notice that I'm just not slapping my foot down to the bottom of to the surface, but I'm using everything I can in my power, all the muscles, to make sure that they're all given time to help me with my movements, okay? So it's not this, and it's not this. Neither is it this, but I'm elevating slowly rather than jumping up and jumping down. Okay, so you don't want to get into that. So that you say, well, that's so easy. But the difficulty becomes an issue when you take care of your upper body. So the upper body now matches our lower in that our upper body has a designated thing to do, okay? So we said the best way to tackle that is to use a big clock. And when we see a big clock, rounded clock in front of us, we have the designated points of 12, 3, and 9 in which we do something. Usually 2 things at the extremes of 3 and 9, okay? So we said that 2 hands can never be in the same plane, but the bottom hand should be lower, and the top hand is not higher, but like this, staggered. And at the same time, the lower hand, you cannot see the palm. The left hand or the top hand, you can see the palm. And if we just stood here, we would address the 2 o'clock. Not so much the 3 o'clock because we're not in motion yet, right? But once we're in motion, we can get out to there. But since we're stable, maybe 1 or 2, we come this way, address the 12, and then 2 things happen, and we address the 9. We exchange places hand-wise. Watch how I exchange. Top hand comes down, bottom hand goes up. That's all it is. But it's not that easy. So we said it's just like reading the newspaper. You flip the page, you read the top of the line, you flip the page, you read the top of the line. 12 o'clock now you can't see, but this is what I do. What do I do? Slow it down. What do I do? 2 things. There's a stem, there's a cup. There's a stem, there's a cup. Sometimes my hands run away from me and the stem and the cup are not directly there, but they should be nearly there, okay? What am I using? Am I using my hands? I'm using my hands only because I'm using my waist, my hips. Watch. Right? Okay, let's see you do it. I'll turn around. So let's not worry about our transition for now. Left hand higher, right hand away. Left hand can see your palm, right hand, lower hand, no palms. All right? 2 o'clock. Use your hips and waist. So you see that at the 3 and 9, we have to exchange the position of our hands. Let's slow it down. Are you using your hips and waist, or are you just doing your hand motion? Now let's look at 12 o'clock. What happens? Stem, get that cup there. Exchange. Stem, get that cup there. Stem, cup. Let's go slower. Okay, get the feeling for that. Any problems? So when we do this now in all Tai Chi, mostly all of Tai Chi, we have a perimeter in which we work. We don't want to bring it too far in or too far out. Obviously, if I do my cloud hands like this, I'm not in Tai Chi posture. So that's a given. It's going to be closer to me, but you don't want it so close where you can't work. Right here, if you do it too close, my shoulders feel stiff, my shoulders feel raised, I'm not flowing. So this distance, whatever this is, 15 inches, I don't know, 12 to 15 inches, something like this, but something that's comfortable, okay? Now, when we put our hands and our feet together, it helps both the hands and the feet. It's not something that we're gonna learn separately and then just push it into that place, but everything will be conducive. The top will be enhancing the bottom and vice versa. How does it do that? Oops, I'm falling off. I need to close. Falling off, I need to open. So on and so forth, okay? But wait now, okay? Not that easy. So if we can go left or if we can go right, we can change the direction by holding there and favoring the side that you want to advance. So you say, how do you know where to end at 9 o'clock? And you say, it looks like she's even going to, or 2 o'clock, whatever side you're on. In motion, you can fudge a little bit more depending on how much you're using your hips and waist. So that clock is there merely for estimated areas. Okay, I might want to add that I might have a hard time editing because there's no way that I can lower him and not, you can't hear me because we're on one track there. Okay, let's put it together, okay? So this time I'm going to challenge you because we have taken all movements that we've relearned and refreshed and drilled out of context. But this time I'm going to put into context cloud hands. How do you get into cloud hands, okay? So to get into cloud hands, we need to part the wild horse's mane for the final time on the right-hand side, okay? So here we go. T-stance, right foot's ready to go, right hand on the bottom, left hand on the top. We're going to part the wild horse's mane. We're going to root down because we need that energy. T-stance, L stance, bottom hand advances, part the wild horse's mane. Flip the forward hand so you no longer see the palm. Join it with the back hand so you can see the palm. These are our hands that are going to meet with the clock, okay? We're in a bow stance. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. What happens? We're coming to 12 o'clock. What should we have? A stem on the left, a cup on the bottom. We want to get out to the 9. We're going to pivot on our left heel. Pivot on the left heel. The hands went for the ride. We got to 9 o'clock. But 9 o'clock, usually 2 things happen. We're going to flip the hands and close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem and a cup. We want to get out to 3. What happens? Flip the hands, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem, cup, turn the hips and waist. 9 o'clock, we only want to flip the hands. 12 o'clock, stem, cup, we want to go the other way. 3 o'clock, what? Flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem, cup. 2 things happen at 9. What? Flip hands, open. We want to get out of cloud hands. Therefore, at 3 o'clock, we only flip. We're coming to 12 with a stem and a cup, but we're going to shift the weight to the left and come up as a what? Golden cockerel. Shift weight to the right, up, Golden cockerel. 50-50, kick out, right. Shift weight to the right, kick out, left. Holding your ball on a T stance. What? Ward off. Turn hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. Use the power of your hips and waist to turn so that your hands definitely go for the ride. Sit back, sit down. Twist. T. L. Ward off. Turn hips and waist. Grasp the bird's tail. We're going to bring it to closure. I'll help you. Push them out. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Open pivot. In pivot. Embrace the tiger. Right hand on the inside. Move that right foot over. Rotate on your wrists so that your palms are now facing you. Closer to your chest, you push them in. Use the left wrist to push out that energy. Drop your shoulders, flex your knees, tuck the elbows. Let gravity take you all back home. Okay. So that in a nutshell is all that you have to do to get the 10 form going. And this is our 13th week, see? We have 2 more, and yes, you've come a long ways. And remember when we first started on our first day, I said something about people have repeated this many, many times, and we still do it in our other classes, 10 form. In fact, I tell my more experienced and longtime students that the 10 form is the hardest form, because you have to know where those 10 abbreviated movements have come from. So that may not make that much of an impression on you, but when we repulse the monkey for the 10 form, we're pretty much stable. But when you think about where it came from, all our movements come from Yang 24, which is the gold standard for Yang style Tai Chi. In repulsing of the monkey for Yang 24, it's a backwards motion. But what? This is familiar, but we have to learn how to walk backwards and not what? Ever fall. And we do it 4 times, which is a plus because you can fix it up. But how am I doing that? Yes, with practice, but yes, knowing what to do with your body. And once we're like this, you can recall and identify that this is a 24. So you know this movement also, right? Okay, so anyway, on and on it goes, that there's always lots of connection to everything, besides just the various forms of yang, but everything that we do. We can dwell more on that and probably create a lesson. I think we did a lot of work today. I think that in spite of the noise out there, this lesson should be a good summary for almost all of you, okay, if not all of you, even for us. So good job. Have a nice Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week. Okay, see you next time.